All right, so this is our demonstration for the TwitterBot flow from the front end. Basically, many thanks to Devin and Cooper for setting up the front end form, and then there's also some people on styling. Basically, this is allowing a administrator to run this Twitter bot and send it out to go collect information, and then to automatically collect that information and leave it in a holding table once that user fills out a form. Now, there are a couple issues with this implementation. On the DS side, the main issue is that we are sending out duplicate welcome messages, and that's likely a artifact of the bot.py file. The fact that we are doing steps 10 and 11 in the conversation status steps as one, we're kind of bundling those. So the easy solution would probably be to unbundle those steps and do step 10 and 11 separately. We're not allowed to make any more changes to the repo, so we're not going to fix that. But that is that's probably a must fix. So on top of that, when we once we send out our initial form, we have to advance the conversation about 3 or 4 times as opposed to 1. So not having to do duplicate advanced conversation calls is also important. Right now, the advanced conversation function is running every hour. The frequency can probably be increased due to the distributed lock, but that'll require a little bit of testing and optimizing. Devin's got some other problems that he's going to also highlight because I don't know about him. I mean, I know about him, but Dev's got it.
Yeah, so currently everything is set up like pretty well. The way we are routing a user to the form is currently we're using incident ID as a parameter on the URL that we later grab and query to auto-populate the information in that form that we've already scraped. We do need to change it to tweet ID though, that parameter. So right now the auto-populating feature is not really working and we'll have to address that soon. So it's also causing issues when you send that form. You're not really getting the correct data for that user. So that's going to be, to complete this cycle, that's going to be one of the first things you might have to do on the front end, and the web backend, you might have to query that differently or make an entirely new endpoint, but you'll see that eventually. So I will also pass this off.
So I think now we're going to we're just going to get started with the test, and Devin's going to open up the admin page and basically show that we're going to pick a test example from the production database, and we're just going to run through the flow just using the buttons.
Cool. I just need permission to share.
Got it.
Okay. All right, so just starting right from the homepage, let me move some stuff around. All right, I believe I was already logged in to the admin dashboard, so it might not take me to the login screen. It might just go right to the admin dash. Let's see. Yep, okay. So right when you get to the dashboard, we're doing HTML requests for unapproved, approved, and form responses. So those all load instantly. So now in unapproved incidents, we have this piece of test data. We're going to inspect it as an admin and see, oh, the location is missing. Also, the description is kind of wacky, I guess, but let's request some more info there. So I'm going to hit request more info. Modal pops up asking you for sure. Yes, send that. And that will now send a tweet out to Rowan's Twitter. So I'll pass that off over to him so he can show that.
So thank you, Devin. So one issue also is that we're running all these tests out of my Twitter account because the HRF Twitter account does not have read, write, and DM access. So definitely switch that over. I will be checking my Twitter account periodically and just deleting tweets. So it's not the end of the world, but tell me to change. All right, so I'm in the account that we tweeted from. I'm going to go to tweets and replies, just reload it. And great. So 39 seconds ago, we sent this tweet. Click the link below to start the conversation. I'm going to switch to the account we tweeted at right here. It popped up my notifications. Great. So I'm going to click send us a private message, and it opens up. Here's our welcome message. We have a function to auto generate the welcome message, but we do need to change the welcome message to be, hi, do you have more information about this tweet? Or about this incident? We are HRF Blue Witness, and we are maintaining police accountability, align incentives, yada, yada, yada. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click yes. Great. Now, what we're going to see in a second is the behavior in which we have to click advanced steps multiple times. So now if I go check this database and we check the incident ID in force ranks, we can see that we are now awaiting response. Great, that does what we want. And then if we go to conversations, it's empty right now. I press run this query, and now we have this first step. So this is the step where we sent the tweet out. The conversation status is 10, and we said click the link below to start the conversation. So that was the tweet that we made. Now what we're going to do is we're going to click advance all right here. We're going to see that we now have an additional step added in here. Oh, no, we don't. We're definitely going to see that there was a response where it says welcome message again. So this is where we're sending out these duplicate welcome messages. This is probably due to conversation steps 10 and 11 being combined. Separating those would be a great call or a great job for somebody to do. There will be 2 entries. There still won't be 2 entries. Okay, so that's the problem then. It's not entering into the database, so the queries are working fine, but we need to make sure it's getting entered into the database. So I'm going to click execute a couple times. And this is just running that advance all function that's running on a clock currently, but we can't wait an hour. So after you click it a couple times, we get this form. Great. We check the database, and that row is now in there. So this is conversation status 11. We've gotten our confirm yes, and we've sent out our form in the DMs. Great. So now I'm going to click this link right here. And what you'll see is that we have this tweet ID currently. We want to switch that over to we want to keep it at a tweet ID, but the way it works right now is the incident ID. That's a back end change. They just need to change their query a little bit for the front end to be able to use. So that's another thing that's got to get done. So I'm just going to change it to 3421, which is my incident ID for this. We see the tweet, I am testing, auto populates that information. There's no city, no state. Because there is none, and the date, I'm not sure if that's auto-populating or not, but
that's another issue that is a nice project for the front end. We were having a little bit of an issue figuring out that kind of ran out of time, so getting that date to auto-populate will be another nice task for you guys.
And on that, like these changes, these problems, almost all time crunch related. So, I wish we could have solved them. We couldn't have, but if you want more information, reach out to us and we will help you out and tell you, what we think we should do. And you can take that information and fix it as you please, or totally change it. All right, so I'm going to press submit right here. Great. So it's submitted and it reloaded me back into the main page. That's the behavior that we want. So now if I go back into conversations, we're going to see the response. McDonald's, Alabama. We got our latitude and longitude from the Google Places API. We got our route. We got our incident date.
Incidentally, I'm wondering where Google thought that McDonald's, Alabama was, but that can be addressed later.
Yeah, the Google Places API is just making a best bet based on the information you give it. So if you give it vague information, it's just gonna be like, all right, we'll pick a central one in Alabama. And we'll see the conversation status is 12. That means ready for review, for the admin to review the response to the form. So I'm going to pass it back to Devin.
Great. Okay, so I hit reload on the admin dashboard. We have our unapproved, approved, and now when we go to form responses, we see I am testing there. And we expand that info and look at that, McDonald's, Alabama. Works exactly how we want it to. So, and then at that point, you can select one and choose to either approve or reject. Why don't we just reject that for now?
Well,
or no?
I'd love to see it go into the main database.
Oh,
and
okay,
show
you're
that.
right, you're right.
So we can delete it after.
Okay, so we accept that, approve it, and it's out of there now. So let's give that back to Rowan, check the database.
All right, so we're going back into the database, and if we look at the previous state, we don't have a city, state, lat, or long. If we run this query again, we now have that information. Great, so it entered it all in. So the flow works at minimum. We can, you could make this work. It'd be kind of ragged if you wanted to. So there is some cleanup that needs to be done. Certainly some organizational work, heavily on the DS side and back end side. I got to say the front end side is really kind of waiting on both of us. So, the work is cut out and enumerated and defined. Does anybody have any questions, comments, concerns, stuff like that?
Just as an aside, incidentally, like, because that's in the database now, theoretically, it should show up on the main page. If we refresh the page, we can find that on the map or in the incidents. If we want to just
be on the
show that,
timeline, yeah.
check it on the timeline, just to show that that's all connected as part of this demo.
Yeah, I'll pull that up real quick.
Sweet, thank you.
So yeah, I reloaded it. You scroll down to the timeline, and there it is, McDonald's, Alabama. A beautiful site.
Beautiful.
Great. Yeah, that was one thing. The other thing is kind of another incidental thing. I know that there was discussion about making the URL associated with these forms like some kind of hashed number instead of using the incident ID or the Twitter ID. So that's just a future consideration. We can.
Yeah, that is something for the front end. When you route that, we were possibly considering as a security measure to protect our database a little bit better, to just hash that tweet ID, or we're going to use tweet ID. So hash the tweet ID and then put that as the parameter and then run some checks on that, I guess. But yeah, that's a feature that you guys might have to figure out, or you can ask me about it. Glad to discuss it.
I'll just throw in additionally, thanks Devin and Roan for putting in some extra work on a Friday when we should be done with everything already. It's good that we get this demo video out so that people can see the functionality of it currently. I'm also slightly regretful that we didn't have those last couple bugs worked out to flow right through it, but I think you guys did a perfect job of stating what those problems were going to be before we ran into them. So it's understood that, like, we know that these are things that need to be worked out in the next group. I think it's great.
Yeah, commendable work, you two. This is
you
great.
guys as well.
Yeah, it was a team effort. Everybody did a lot, especially, this crew here. We're kind of putting in the extra hours, burning the midnight oil. So thank you everybody for being here and making this happen, because it was not a solitary effort by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, also huge shout out to Cooper. He
Yes.
couldn't be here right now, but he did a ton of the work on the front end also. So
Yep.
yeah.
Cooper Jackson.
Sweet. All right. Good luck next team. Whoever picks this up, crush it and ask us a lot of questions. See ya.